Assalamu alaikum students. Today we are going to start our new chapter number 4, that is motion and force. Firstly, you should know the definition. Force is the agent which causes anything to move or stop a moving object. Force is the agent needed to move anybody or to stop anything from moving. We will talk about the 3 laws of motion. Okay, there are Newton's 3 laws of motion. And first law of motion. Firstly, we will going to explain you the Newton's first law of motion. What we will learn in the Newton's first law of motion. It stated that body do not wants to change its state, whether it is in form of rest or in motion. That object is in motion tends to stay in motion, while object at rest tends to stay at rest. This is also known as law of inertia. Inertia is the tendency or capability of an object because of which it resists its changes. It resists in the change in its state. This is an example of inertia. You will see that a driver and a car is moving with a certain speed. When it strikes to a wall, the car stops because of hitting, but the person wants to remain in its moving state, so it comes out of the car and strike to the wall. This is another example of Newton's first law of motion, that we put a coin on a cardboard. If we flip the cardboard, the coin will drop inside the glass. You will see that whenever the cardboard is take out, the coin will drop inside the glass. So this is the example of the first law of motion. Another example of first law of motion, that when the car strikes to a wall, a giraffe moves in forward direction because of the jerk is felt by the giraffe and it will move forward direction. This is also the example of first law of motion, that the body do not wants to change its state from rest or the off motion. We'll talk about second law of motion. In second law of motion, 2 things are important. One is the mass of the object and second is the force which we apply on the object. This is the equation for the second law of motion. Acceleration is directly proportional to force. As the force is increased, acceleration will also increase. Acceleration is inversely proportional to the mass. If the mass is increased, acceleration will decrease. Now we will combine both equations. A is directly proportional to F upon m. Directly proportional sign will remove and constant k is added. K is equals to 1, so the equation becomes F is equals to ma. That is the final equation for the second law of motion. It was stated that force is applied on an object, it produces acceleration, and the acceleration is directly proportional to the magnitude of the force applied. Now you will see this example. When the more force is applied, the scale will move more upward. When less force is applied, it will not move too much high. This is another example. When you see that mass is less, so the acceleration is high, and the mass is high, then the acceleration will be low. Now we will talk about the third law of motion. What we will see in the third law of motion. Third law of motion states that every action have its equal and opposite reaction. When we put your hand on a table and push, so the action is downward and the reaction is upward. These are the 3 examples of the third law of motion. When you fire a bullet from a gun, the bullet is an action and the recoil of the gun is the reaction. In the second example, a foot is producing action on the floor and floor is producing a reaction on that of the shoe. In third example, boy exert a force on a boat and a boat exert a force on the feet of a boy, that is action and reaction. You will see this example, the action of a ball and reaction of the cannon. Now we will talk about the difference between mass and weight, that what is mass and what is weight. Number 1 difference, the quantity of matter contained in a body is called its mass. Weight is the force with which earth attracts the body towards its center. Formula of mass is equal to F is equal to ma, and weight is equal to W is equal to mg, because we will talking about the gravitational force, so acceleration is removed by that of the gravitation. Point number 2, the mass of the body remains constant everywhere, but the weight of the body is not constant. It will change according to the places. Point number 3, mass is a scalar quantity, weight is the vector quantity, SI unit of mass is kilogram, and SI unit of weight is the Newton. This is the difference between mass and weight. These are the 4 questions which you have to do in your physics copy.